And today we're going to talk about a subject that's really near and dear to my heart, being the type A person that I am and the type A person that I typically serve. It's that you must work harder. Like the answer to all questions is work harder. Have you noticed that? Especially, I mean, it doesn't matter really if it's life or business. The answer is work harder, work harder, work harder. Because it's like if you put in more time, more effort, if you keep efforting, if you keep asserting, that certainly whatever it is will work itself out. So if you need your kids to listen to you, it's work harder in making them understand you, work harder in developing boundaries for them, work harder on whatever it is. If it's I need to make more money in my business, guess what? The answer is work harder. There's always it's rarely about working smarter or really understanding the effort you put in. It's like double down on it and keep going. Have you noticed this? It's always about doubling down. And that is absolutely exhausting. It's like you're chasing all the time. And of course, I'm here to tell you the answer isn't to work harder. And the answer, I mean, a lot of people will say, oh, well, then it's to work smarter. Well, sort of. To me, the answer really lies in taking account of what you're doing. It's not even about working smarter because chances are you don't know what smarter is yet. It's about slowing down so that you can speed up. If you need to speed up, right? Whatever speed up might be for what you're trying to accomplish. But it's definitely about slowing down and taking stock and really looking at what's happening. Right? There's usually some kind of trend, something that the data will tell us. And I know, especially, we like to kind of go with the flow. But you also have to read what the flow is doing, right? And that's where these data points come in. It's not antithetical to using your intuition. On the contrary, it aids your intuitive flow because you can start seeing evidence and you can know, oh, maybe there's some kind of thought form I need to change so I can start getting the outcome that I want. But until you start looking at the evidence, you probably wouldn't know which thought form that could be. Right? So it actually, like I said, aids your own intuition. When you take a step back, you look at what actually is going on when you analyze that data. So it isn't necessarily about working harder. Most of the time it's about working less. I'll just be honest. There's very few situations where I've seen that someone hasn't been working hard enough. It's either they've been doing the wrong kind of work or they've been working too much. Right? The wrong kind of work or working too much. You won't know which it is till you slow down and you look at what actually is going on. So what do I mean by the wrong kind of work? I was listening, I'm trying to remember who it was. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. Like, it's one of my favorite things to do. And I might be consuming too much content, let's just be honest. But whichever YouTuber I was listening to brought up a really good point. Sometimes we're working in a stage of business that we shouldn't be looking at, right? So maybe we're in an earlier stage of business than we think we are, but we're working on something that is in a later stage of business. And so we're building out something that can't be utilized properly. That's working on the wrong thing. So let me get more concrete. If you're like really down with customer fulfillment and you're all about making sure that that whole process is absolutely perfect, again, not a bad thing to do. But if you don't have any sales because you're not doing any marketing, we're really working on the wrong part of the business. Does that make sense? you're really working on the wrong part. So it's a lot of effort and you're not seeing the reward you want to see, but it's the wrong part of the business you're working on altogether, right? So you want to make sure that you're putting your efforts in the right place. Like I said, it's rarely that someone needs to work harder, right? And not necessarily maybe you could write that or work smarter, but it's just you need to put the effort in a different spot. And like I said earlier, it's not that you need to work harder. A lot of times you need to work less. And I talked about this a little bit the other day, in that a lot of times when I see people working and working super hard, they're just almost working to work. They're working to be busy so they feel like they are now deserving, right? They feel like they are deserving of good things to come to them only because they've worked harder. Because we've been, I say we, in general, and it's at least Western society, there's this thing about you must work hard in order to deserve anything. And I literally had breakfast with several people this morning, which I loved. And one of the ladies said something like, and this is a maxim, that if it wasn't hard to get, it wasn't worth it. I think things can be worth it even if they come easy. Right? Even if they come easier. Now, there is part of stretching yourself to grow. Right? That does not mean overworking. Right? But there is stretching yourself to grow. And I'm going to say this, I'm breaking one of my own rules. I don't typically work weekends. But there are those times I do work weekends. There are times where I break my own rules and I work the weekend. But it's not all the time. Not anymore. That would be insane. It is the exception, not the rule. So there's times where we work harder, right? Where we put in more time, more effort, what have you. But there's also those times, and we did end up talking about this at breakfast too, where you must come back and rest. It's, and she's this beautiful example of running a marathon. Marathon runners know you can't run a marathon every day. You need time to rest, let your body heal. And in our case, we run on high all the time. We're running with our cortisol levels up here, all our stress hormones up here, right? We're going. And we rarely have that time to let all that settle back down. We are always triggering our fight or flight mode, right? Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. We're triggering them all the time. And those things never get to settle back down. Especially, like I said, Western society. There's other societies in the world where they're about having those moments of stress and those moments of relaxation. But in our society, it seems to be very, very prized to always be hustle, hustle, hustle. Work, work, work. If you're not working hard, you're not going to make it happen. Again, there are those bouts of working hard, right? There are those moments. It cannot be all the time. It's not sustainable for your body. It's not sustainable for your soul. It's not sustainable for your mental health either. That's why you see such high degrees of burnout. Because we're not having those moments of rest. It's not only just being on, it's being on all the frickin' time. So I want to say that you don't have to work harder. And in fact, it's like, you're like, well, it must be nice, right? I literally had someone tell me it must be nice because you must have all the money in the world if you don't need to work harder. No, that's not true. In fact, I didn't see my income actually rise, right? I was like going in a red, like trying to get past this glass ceiling. And I see my clients doing the same thing. They're going this rut, trying to get out of this rut, break through their glass ceiling. They hit this point, and it usually typically happens around the low six-figure mark. They get to six figures, they're like, woohoo, I made it. And then they realize as they keep going, they're like, we're going to keep going. That they're hitting this treadmill and they've given themselves a really overbearing job. And they just keep working harder and harder and harder. And then all of a sudden their income isn't going up and they're like, is this worth it? Is it worth it for me to keep working 60 hours a week and I'm not making any more money. I'm not seeing any more freedom. I actually work more than I used to. This is insane, right? That's where they mostly get. And it's at those moments, and I was listening to someone the other day, this guy, and he was talking about the same thing. That moment he wanted to quit. He's like, this isn't worth it. I can get a regular job, make about the same money because my skills have greatly improved, and I could market myself and get a better job, and only work 40 hours a week, right? So there has to be something else driving one to keep going. And they have to find a way pop out of that rut. They have to start working less. And yes, for some people, that's about learning how to delegate and getting a VA or getting employees. And for other people, that's really about learning how to look at what actually needs doing, right? I talked a little bit about you have to learn what you have to do, what someone else has to do, and what needs to die, right? Like it doesn't need to be done at all. You just stop, right? You need to work less. Also, it opens up your mind. When you are able to go out, and I talked about this yesterday, like go for a walk. It's going to do you some tremendous good to be out in nature, just to be outside in the sun, right? Or in the moon, like get outside. It does something to your brain to start calming you back down. All those stress hormones, all of the cortisol, etc., just calming back down, right? So you can return to a moment of true homeostasis. Our homeostasis has gotten jacked. We've gotten jacked with stress. But true homeostasis where you can let your mind relax. And you can start enjoying what's around you, right? Gratitude goes a long way. Start enjoying what's around you. Start doing the things you used to love to do. Then all of a sudden, you realize you know the answer to the thing that had been bugging you that you were working on. And you start to realize over time that you're working a whole lot less. A whole lot less. And you're making the same, if not more money. Right? I had one lady I worked with, she was making about $175,000 a year. $175,000 a year. And we just got her down to she was working about 55 hours a week, sometimes going up to 70, right? It was a lot. We got her down to like 30. And she was still making 175, and I thought, she's not going to like that too much. But you know what? She's thrilled. She's like, I feel like I gave myself a raise. Because she had more time. She had more time. And sometimes it's all it's about. It's like, can I keep making the same money that is supporting me, but I have my time back? That's huge. And what did we start with? We started with really trying to set schedules so that she's not working nights, and then not working weekends, and then not working Fridays. Only working half of Mondays. Like, slowly but surely it changed, and she had more and more time. Same money, more time. And that is a raise. As a huge raise. And part of that was, yes, I think we had her bring on a part-time VA. Not bad, right? So we could get some things done more efficiently than she could. And then part of it was just, again, like I said, what do you really need to be doing? And then go do that thing. What do you delegate? And what needs to die? And I think knowing what needs to die is probably the harder thing. Especially as you're just coming up to and crossing that six-figure mode, you just want to keep doing everything because you're thinking, I need to do everything. You can't. That just makes you working harder for lower and lower returns. That's the result of that. So really looking at what's truly working. And this is something you could do. Of course, I would love to sit and work with you through this during Soulful Reset. And somewhere my profile, a link where the video is, whatever, there'll be something there where you could Come check out the event so you can attend and reserve your seat. I'd love to work with you through this. But even if you don't come to the event, right? Not everyone can come to the event. Though I'd love to have you there. Not everyone could come. So make sure to really look at what is actually working. If you know, like, you could just start typing in what you know is actually working for you. What is working to make you happy? What is working to bring you the most money? What is actually working for you? All right. And then look at how much are you prioritizing what is actually working for you. Is it a priority for you? And how do you find out that? You look at what you're actually doing, right? Maybe this weekend is an anomaly, or the holidays are an anomaly, but you can think of, go back over your average day. What do you do when you wake up? What time do you wake up? What are you doing right after you wake up? Like, be really granular with this, right? I could say I wake up in the morning at around 9 a.m. because 8, 9 a.m., that's when I wake up. That's how I've styled out my life. And I get up and I go to the bathroom and I brush my teeth. And then I lay out my clothes and I get in the shower and I do this and that. And my whole morning routine takes about, 30 to 45 minutes. Now I'm going in and I'm doing yoga and I'm working out, right? Whatever it is. I just changed it around to where I showered afterwards. But anyway, you get my point. Just get granular about what you're actually doing. So you can actually point to some of the things that I know that bring me the most joy, that I've decided that I have as goals, or that bring me the most money. I'm doing those things 80 to 90% of the day. And I think what you'll find is you're actually only doing those things like maybe 10% of the day, like it's complete opposite. But you won't know until you get really granular with it, right? It's something that we'll be doing during Soulful Reset, is getting really granular with it and seeing what are the things that I say that are important to me, and then how does what I do actually reflect that they're important to me, or that it is a priority for me, right? It's not about working harder. It's about putting your focus on the right things and working less. All right. So if you've got any questions, this is the time to put in the comments. If you have any ideas about working harder, or like I said, I hope I busted that myth for you, because it is not about working harder. But definitely put any questions that you have in the comments. I'll be looking back. I'll be answering any of those questions. All right, my loves. Peace, joy, love to you.